Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome back Gary Barwin, the winner of the Canadian Jewish Literary Award for Poetry for the Most Charming Creatures. This is the third time Gary Barwin has been awarded a Canadian Jewish Literary Award. This is the first time we've given him one for poetry. He won previously in fiction for Yiddish for Pirates, and last year for Nothing the Same, Everything Haunted, The Ballad of Muttle the Cowboy. Gary Barwin is one of Canada's best writers and certainly one of the most prolific. He's the author of 26 books and counting. He is a poet, composer, multimedia artist, and performer who writes in a range of genres, including poetry, fiction, visual poetry, music for live performers and computers, text and sound works, and writing for children and young adults. The Most Charming Creatures is eclectic and beautiful. With curiosity and humor, the poems explore the various registers of language and culture to bring out the marvelous with empathy and enchantment. I know of Gary's interest in language because he writes about Yiddish, and I sent him a performance of the first play written in Aramaic. I don't know if Yiddish and Aramaic informed these poems. Maybe they did. Here's Gary.
I guess we have to pose, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here with you all. I'm also very honored to receive this award for my book. I really deeply thank the jury and all those involved in making these awards possible. They're most charming creatures indeed. I'd also like to thank ECW Press for publishing it, Michael Holmes, the editor, and publisher Jack David. You know, I've submitted work to ECW a few times before, and Michael wrote the sweetest and most lovely rejection letters. This time, I'm really glad that he didn't. I'm grateful that these awards exist to celebrate writing, and specifically Jewish writing. If you turn a Jew upside down, writing comes out. Even if you don't turn them upside down, writing still comes out. A book seems a small thing in the vastness of the world. It has the same surface area as a plate or the cross-section of a brain. Auden famously said, "Poetry makes nothing happen." And Adorno wrote that it is barbaric to write poetry after Auschwitz. It seems the role of creative writing, and especially poetry, is always in question. But I like what American poet Charles Bernstein wrote in a poem addressing 9/11. The question isn't, is art up to this, but what else is art for? I think about the Kabbalist belief that letters existed before the world and that the world was made from letters. I feel that so too it is a writer's job to continuously remake the world with their language. Perhaps it could be that, like in the Kabbalistic concept, meaning has withdrawn, tzimtzum, to make room for us to make meaning, a kind of linguistic tikkun. And often with humor, to paraphrase Leonard Cohen, there's a wisecrack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Poetry is a kind of looking, of noticing, sometimes looking out at the world, sometimes looking in at the writer, or even at the writing. Poetry thinks about what does it mean to speak, to write. It asks, how do words, our own and others, influence us? How do they change what we think and see and feel? How does a joke or a metaphor remake the world? I believe that writing is always a conversation. It surprises, consoles, entertains, and energizes. The simple yet complex act of engaging us in dialogue is powerful. It wakes us up to the possibility of being human, of remaining human, of seeing other humans. It's easy for things to become business as usual, for us to become numb or inattentive, given the complexity and fast pace of the world. I think that's why Ezra Pound says that poetry is news that stays news. I agree with him, and I'd like to add that poetry is also poetry that stays poetry. It refuses to be anything but words. It refuses to be only words. Poetry makes us make poetry happen. I'd like to just read just a few little pieces from the book. Whale. Whale was balding. He was embarrassed around the other whales, so he hung out on the surface of the ocean, spouting sadly. Bird saw that whale was sad, and so he flew between sun and whale and covered whale's bald spot with his shadow. Whale had never been so happy. Then a warplane flew into Bird, and Bird was turned into feathers. Later, a warplane bombed a town, but Whale never found out, and so he remained happy until the end of days. Moral? Wear a hat and support journalists. Joy and sorrow. Joy, sorrow, and ape were siblings. They argued about everything. Since they were always fighting, they asked their mom to help. She tried all sorts of things, but nothing stopped the kerfuffle. So she locked them in their room. This way, they'll have to work it out, their mom said. Many things changed over the years. The alignment of continents, the acidity of the oceans, the climate. Ape evolved into an early form of human, but joy and sorrow remained the same. Moral, joy, and sorrow remain the same. Loss. I had a big toe. Now my big toe is gone. Suitcase, sunglasses, Hawaiian shirt. My big toe is gone. Traveling. I ask my remaining big toe, where has our big toe gone? My remaining big toe says, don't know, says, but I'm with you. I'm with you. And finally, after Hugh Thomas, life is long. Life is long. Don't worry, except for its sudden end. I mean it. Here we say something about love. Life is long. Footfalls, the war. But like I said, except for its end. Life is long. Don't worry. Don't. A sudden end means it was a rocket. Like a footfall landing on the ground, like maybe when you were running until the end. But of course, I miss you. I miss you. You're not here. And all I can do is walk. Thank you very much.